Welcome everybody to Aspen updates in a not so instant, it sounds like this time. I'm going to start. Where did Just a moment, sorry. There we go. Start by sharing the release notes. Just, of course, want to thank everybody that has contributed this time. This time we have 13 developers across 5 organizations, several people contributing to documentation and testing. And of course, the number of people doing that will go up as we go through the testing period for this. And thank you to all of the sponsoring organizations. So with that, I will move to Leda. So Minuteman has, as they did last time, sponsored a bunch of updates to Minuteman. We're going to start by, I'm sorry. Well, let's start by looking at, we've got the ability to customize a logo at the top of the screen. So that is specified within your theme. And there's also the ability to specify a different logo to be used for the Android build as opposed to the iOS build. And that is in your branded app settings. The logo at the top of the screen is optional. If you don't have one, it won't show. It'll just show as it did before. So cool way to do that. And that will show on kind of all of the pages. Also added the ability to filter checkouts and holds. So we've had this functionality before. Just previously, it required a callback to discovery, so it would be a little slow. There were cases where it could be a little buggy and cause the app to crash, or make you forced to hit reload checkouts. So now that's all happening just within Leda itself, and there's no callback. So be a little bit nicer to the servers and make things a little more responsive for users. That works for both checkouts and titles on hold. So there's our titles on hold. So here it is refreshing as it brings it up the first time to make sure that we have those. So part of what we were doing with Sierra too, so especially with Sierra, Sierra's got a little bit of a delay in processing that depends on the server. So from the time the patron places the hold to the time it shows up on their account is somewhere between like 15 and 30 seconds. So we were doing several things to kind of help make that work better for patrons. So but before we go into that more, so here we can filter to Libby materials. So here's just our things checked out in Libby. We can filter to say, show us only our physical materials, and those show up there. So after we place a hold in Sierra, we're going to automatically refresh Leda about 45 seconds later. And there's also a link when placing a hold that says, hey, do you want to go to your holds? For Sierra libraries, we're not going to show that, just to kind of minimize that disruption for patrons with that. Oh, and I should mention that Kirsten and I did most of this work. So, or this work with that. So we've been having fun with it. There's also a new permanent search box. So the search box before disappeared. So now if I search for elephant, bring up all my results. I still get the search box. I don't have to go back. So there I've got my search box. I can change my search. I can, if I filter and say, hey, I want to sort this by fiction, it'll still stay there. So here, let's look at all of our. Let's look at our nonfiction elephants. And then after that comes up, we'll be able to switch to something else because that search bar is permanent. Oh, every once in a while, Lita freaks out. We are continuing to look at all of those. So Kirsten and I have been doing a lot to look at those. The other thing I'll show real quick here is um, one moment. So phase two of this work is also speeding up this startup process. All right, so let's just go into Pride and Prejudice here. All right, so if we go into Pride and Prejudice, here we can see that we've got our book. We can see that this is on hold for me. One of the other requests was, hey, when we place a hold, um, in Discovery, it shows, hey, this title's already on hold for you. Do you want to place a duplicate hold? That's now been moved over to Lita as well. So that's nice. And then the other request was within the last time we added that more info button for the grouped works. And when we view additions, that information will show as well. So bring up show additions here, and then we can click on more info. That will take us to the actual record in Discovery so that you can get more information on that specific record. All right, switching gears over here to Discovery. So Swan sponsored a bunch of changes to series. So we've got a brand new series module, which here's our series page. We added just a default filter for the page. So we can see this is enabled here. You also, after you enable it in the modules, you'll then be able to change in the library settings, change the search mode for series to the Aspen series search, and it will require a nightly index to load all of those series from the catalog into Aspen. So, but now we're able to do cool things like, hey, let's search for images of America. So here we've got our titles from Images of America. And then we see down here, hey, in Explore More, we've got some series. So we've got the series Images of America. We've got the Images of Modern America, Images of Ohio. So we can click into those and get more information about all the books in that series. Those can then be sorted as well. So they don't really have volumes for Images of America, but we could sort it by title. We could sort it by publication date. So good information there. This information is also editable. So let's go back to our search well, here, let's just search for Images of America in our series index. So this is just searching the series then, and we can search those by keyword, series title, author. So here we can see we've got Images of America, that Images of Modern America. And I'm going to edit that and just give that a new description. So the descriptions can be HTML. We can upload custom covers if you want to do that. So here, let's paste in some text. And then after that indexes again, that'll get shown as well. So there we can update that. Let's do another search for Bad Kitty. Those are cute books. So here we've got the Bad Kitty. We've got Bad Kitty picture books. Bad Kitty picture books is one that I actually made myself because Bad Kitty and Bad Kitty picture books were kind of interfiled, but they are two technically different series. So let's click into Bad Kitty. Um, this is good. So I've customized this a little bit. I've added an audience. We can see though that there's a different author there. And if we scroll down, this Bad Kitty is not like the other kitties. That's not the right series. So we would want to split those out. So what we can do here is edit this kitty. And we're going to take kitty kitty. And we're just going to say, let's exclude kitty kitty. And that way we can get rid of it. We can also, if we edit that, add additional ones. So we can edit and say, hey, we didn't get number 7 or 8. So we could add those in and say, hey, we've got Bad Kitty Bad Kitty book 7, which is Bad Kitty Drawn to Trouble. We'll copy his name. That's book 7. I forget the publication date right off the top of my head, but we'll save those changes. Those will then show up as non-linked entries. So Bad Kitty School Days now shows up. There's Bad Kitty Drawn to Trouble, and we need to sort it. So that's cool stuff. You can also, as part of this series stuff, let's search for Walking Dead. So here we also broke out automatically the different languages. So we've got Walking Dead Spanish versus Walking Dead. You can, as part of the series index, you can completely hide things. So if we search for large print, we can go into, if we don't want to say, hey, we don't need this publisher kind of series, we can edit that and say, hey, don't include that in search. And that will completely remove that from the series search. Other cool thing I want to show. So we're just going to add these to the browse category. We'll do a blank search. We're going to do juvenile books or juvenile series with a with a subject of humorous stories. Then we are going to add this to browse. We're going to create a new one. Humorous series kids. So there we go. If we go back to our browse, then here we've got, so I've got adventure series for kids, humor series for kids. So cool ways for people to discover new series they might not otherwise see. So Catherine did a lot of that work. It's been really awesome. Web resources. So Metropolitan sponsored this work, and Cody did a lot of this work. Oh, this is just the administration period page for series. Web resources. So we now have a brand new custom web resources page. This is where you can define things like what is indexed, some different titles and descriptions for different pages. So we have the ability now to create a default resources A to Z page. So here's our resources A to Z page. That can be optionally indexed as well too. So we can say index the A to Z. So here it's an A to Z page. You can click on things. So if we want to say what are our E stuff, there's our EBSCO host, and J's are journal records, and O's are opposing views. So that's cool. So a great way for people to see all of the resources, especially when they have a ton of them. We also then have the ability to customize the audiences and categories a bit more. So if we go into our educators, we can add additional descriptive text. So here we can say, hey, for the educators, there's additional more information. that information will then be shown on, so there's an automatic page created for each audience as well as each category. So if we go into the category of health and wellness, we can edit that as well. I've done some of these before as well. So go. All right. So I just did a search for help now. So help now in the library catalog, it'll show up in Explore More, or you can find it through the web search. Bringing that back, we're then able to, so there's our, oh, it did a search correction. I'm just going to go back. Okay, there we go. So we've got our teens and young adults. If we click into that, we get our teens and young adults. So all of the things that the library has decided are appropriate for teens and young adults, those can get added as well. So those can all be then searched for. So if I searched for teens, I'd be able to find those as well. We also have the ability to create placards automatically from resources. So say I've got Creative Bug as a web resource, all I have to do is click Generate Placard and pick all of my parameters, save those changes. Let's go back to my placard. Back too many times. All right, so there's our placard. We now get a message saying, hey, the resource is linked to this placard. We can click into that placard and do updates. And then we can, so we get the automatic image and we can add some trigger words. So we can say, so let's say arts and crafts, drawing, painting. We're going to show that everywhere. And then if I do a search for drawing, I get our Creative Bug. Now, when you edit the web resource, it's going to say, hey, these two are linked together and ask you if you want to have them automatically stay in sync. So if you update the image, it'll get updated. If you update the description, it'll get updated. So really cool stuff there. You can also create custom web resource pages. And I know I'm going long here, Bill, so I'm going fast. So custom web resources pages allow you to combine and intersect different things. So if I want to say, hey, I want to have a page for homework help for teens and young adults, we're going to say, I'm going to select homework help for teens and young adults. That will then show me everything that is both homework help and teens and young adults. If I wanted to say, hey, I also want to include everything for everyone, I could. And then that just pulls it all together into a page like this. You can give it a title and that kind of thing. So good information there. Those are then also available within Web Builder portal cells. So if I edit this one, I can have a web resource. So I can add an individual web resource. So say I want to add A to Z in the USA. I can add those individually, or I can add a link to the page. So now I can say, hey, let's add a custom web resource page. And we're going to do that teen homework help. So then when we view that, we will get all of that information. That'll link out to that page. So good ways to build additional information into your site, make things a little easier to organize and that thing. Okay, events updates. So sponsored again, this is a continuation of the work we did last month for Click and CDOC. Catherine also did the bulk of this work. So we've added on the ability to add a header image. So this is a printable image for the header. That then shows for people that have permissions to view the printable headers. So here we have the ability to view that if we say, Let's print. It will print. Depending on your orientation and size, it's going to go back and forth between the agenda view and the landscape view just to make things a little more, or between agenda view and calendar view to make things more readable. So portrait, agenda, landscape, calendar, you can pick and choose which you like best, and get the pretty logo on top. We can also now do a week view. So if we want to see things by week instead of by month, that works perfectly as well. If we go into an individual event, we are now able to export that, either a single series or all events in a series, to iCal, so that it can be imported into your calendars. We go back here real quick. Let's go to the previous week. So just note here, there's a staff workshop. That staff workshop is a private event. I have permissions to see private events. If I log out, then go back to the calendar. That one isn't there, so you can have like staff only or private kind of events. There is also a report of events that are, so total number of events, and you can kind of control what shows there. So you can choose like, is it a community event or a story time, that kind of thing, how many hours, what are the audiences, just to get different reports for different things. So lots of cool stuff there. Jordan's going to mention it later, but we are doing a webinar on all of the things that we have done in kind of first quarter of 25. Jordan will give you more information on when that is exactly, but I will turn it over to Alexander's next, I think.
All right, thanks, Mark. Yeah, Alex, when you want to go ahead and share.
Sure, I can. Okay. So I'm just going to give you a sort of overview of community engagement phase one. So community engagement is a new module that we've added, turned on and off the usual way. Once it's enabled, you have a new section here. And within that section, the first thing we'll just have a quick look at is the rewards section. So if you want to add a reward, you can come and give it a name, give it a description, and then you can choose whether this is going to be a physical reward or a digital reward. If it's going to be a digital reward, you can upload an image. So these will show in your personal campaign section, which I'll show you a little bit later on. So the idea of this is to incentivize children, adults, anyone really, to take part in reading challenges, particularly summer reading challenges, and give them a way to track it. And then in phase two, the rewards that you get in here, the digital ones, will be shareable to social media. So if you want to brag about your reading to your friends, you can. Once you've set some rewards, you can also set some milestone criteria. So again, you can give it a name. Then you've got different events that can happen within Aspen. So you've got your checkouts, your holds, and your ratings, which is if you place a review. So this is what you want the user to do in order to make progress towards their milestone. You can also set a conditional field. So for example, you could choose author is, and then you could put an author in the bottom, and then it would only count that checkout if it was by an author, by this particular author. If you don't want a condition, you can just leave that blank. That's fine. And then you come up here to make your campaign. You can see I've got some campaigns already set here. When you do go to make a campaign, you again give it a name and a description, and then you can add some milestones. We've used the bento box for the milestones. You can add as many as you'd like, pick your milestone criteria, and then you pick the goal. So check out any book. To meet this milestone, you might want them to check out five books, and then you can associate a reward with each individual milestone completion. And then further down, you can also associate a reward with the completion of a campaign. You give your campaign here a start and end date. Depending on the start and end date, what they are will affect where they're seen in your personal campaigns page, and whether they're seen. If you don't set one, then the users can't see it. You also have the ability to restrict which campaigns show by patron access type, library access, and by user age range. And if you just click, if you hover on the question mark here, it gives you a little bit of detail about the input criteria for the user age ranges. So you see, I've already got some campaigns set up here. So I'm just going to masquerade as a patron. And then we have your campaign section. Within the campaign section, you have different tables, which will appear if there is anything to display in that section. So at the top, you've got your campaigns. These are ones you are already enrolled in. Active campaigns, that you might be enrolled or not, but they are campaigns that are where we're within the start and end date. They're currently ongoing. The upcoming campaigns you have that are campaigns that will be starting within the next month. Then you also have past campaigns which have ended, and your past campaigns which have ended and you were enrolled within them. You might notice in here in my active campaigns, I don't have the kids campaign that I had set in the main page. That is because I am masquerading as S Keys, who is sadly over 10, so she's too old, so that campaign does not display for her. So if you click the campaign information, you can see the milestones that you're working towards. So for this particular campaign, there are 2: place 3 holds and to make a review. And we've got these milestones are partially completed. Sally's already made some progress towards them. So to make a bit more progress, if we go to add a review, I'll just say let me like that book. Go back to our campaigns. So one milestone is completed, and we've now completed this particular section, this particular milestone. And it works similarly for holds and checkouts. Once you've completed however many it is for that milestone, you can see this increment. For your past campaigns, you can also see whether you have been given your rewards yet or not. So you can see for Sally that she has received her reward of ice cream for this milestone. She hasn't yet received her reward of this badge for this milestone. So to control and for admin purposes, let's into masquerade. Sorry, if you move that back across. If you go to the admin view, you have an overview of the campaigns, and then you can filter through your campaigns. I'm going to go to a winter campaign. Gives you a bit of information about that campaign, and then it also tells me in here who's enrolled and whether the milestones and the campaign itself are complete. If they are complete, I have the option to give the reward, and then that will be reflected again in the users. So if I give the reward here, then I go back to being these keys. I've now checked that I've also received my my thumbs up badge. There. I think that is the main points covered of phase one. And we've got some more development coming for a phase two part of the campaigns module, which I'm not sure if Andrew's going to was going to mention or not. Sorry if I put you on the spot there, Andrew.
I don't have that full list in front of me. I've been trying to answer questions as they come up here. But yeah, somebody asked about manual milestones, so places where a patron or a librarian could just say, this is done, rather than needing to actually tie it to a transaction. And I know that's coming in phase two.
In phase two. I can run you through the phase two list if you'd like. So we've got, you'll be able to see the campaigns of linked users. So there'll be a new section in your campaign section where you can access the campaigns of your children or anyone else you may be linked with. And you'll also be able to enroll or unenroll for those people. There will be leaderboards available to be part of or not. As I mentioned earlier, you'll be able to share the badges on social media. The campaigns in phase two will also have an enrollment period, so libraries might want to restrict how long the enrollment's open. If the campaign's 3 months long, they might only want you to be able to enroll for the first month. There will also be the ability for milestone progress to be completable but beyond 100%, so that you can keep playing if you want to. We're going to do notifications, so email notifications and also Toast pop-up notifications that you can opt in or out of, so that users can be reminded when their campaign's starting, ending, or if a change is made. There will be the ability to have a dashboard so that you'll be able to download data about who's engaging, who's engaging with the campaigns. I know some libraries are going to be reporting against that, so that's quite important. And then, yeah, we said about the manual milestones that will be available for progress. I think that's the main phase two plans.
Excellent. Thank you, Alex. And Andrew, there's a couple others in there. Are you able to answer those?
Let's see. So Karen made a really interesting suggestion of tying it to format or genre and setting milestones of things like check out 3 different formats or 6 different genres. That's a really cool idea for the future. I like it a lot. Were there other specific questions? I think I hit the others. Karen asked about relabeling that challenges instead of campaigns. I know that is possible because Cuyahoga already has done so.
Excellent. Thank you again, Alex, for staying late and showing this. This is exciting development, and we appreciate Cuyahoga for sponsoring it. Next up, I think we had Leo was just going to mention a few things he's working on.
Well, thank you, Bill. So there were, from Bywater Solutions, there were a number of changes to Aspen, and I'm only going to note a couple. First, currently Aspen fetches images from third-party providers and saves it to the file system. This can be slow and take up a lot of storage. So there's now a new setting under Systems Variables where you can choose to use the original cover URL. This just means that Aspen will fetch the URL from a third-party provider and directly display it. No need for any file system caching. I would recommend enabling it. If there's any issues or oddities, please report a JIRA issue and you can just disable it afterwards, and remember to clear your browser cache. Second, when you upload images to the web builder, before there was no validation on the front end or back end, so you could receive errors if you uploaded an invalid file type. There's now proper validation for that, and it will notify you if you do upload an invalid file type. Now from Yanjin, she added a feature called Prefer ILS Description. It's a system preference to allow a library to use ILS descriptions instead of e-content descriptions, and it will be in the grouped work display settings. But if you select Prefer Syndetics Content Cafe Description, Aspen will continue to prioritize the Syndetics Content Cafe over ILS descriptions. And to use it, you will have to run a full ILS indexing or a nightly. Previously, there were series problems with boundless records indexing and records availability statuses syncing. And after working closely with Baker and Taylor, the engine resolved these issues by introducing new title license version 3 API endpoints. So new API endpoints from Baker and Taylor. And so now libraries and patrons can enjoy boundless records on Aspen in the new version. Thank you.